And welcome to Flashback, a recap of some stories that made headlines during the week. Vice President Kashim Shettima arrived in London on Monday morning to accompany the body of former president back to his Daura residence in Kano State, Nigeria. And back home, flags were flown at half-mast. Several convoys were seen entering Katsina State in connection with preparations for the burial of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Gun trucks with armed soldiers and tight security defined the atmosphere outside the Daura residence of the former president. On Tuesday, former President Muhammadu Buhari was buried at his residence in Daura, Katsina State. President Bola Tinubu led other dignitaries from all walks of life to the state funeral.
Inside President Muhammadu Buhari's compound in Daura, the mood is somber as dignitaries arrive to pay their last respects. Katsina State Governor Daura is on ground receiving visitors, though unprepared to speak to the press. Among those who have arrived are the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar, the former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, former Ogun State Governor Ibikunle Amosun, Buhari's former Chief of Staff, Ibrahim Gambari, and his longtime media aide, Garba Shehu. The visitors were led around the premises by the governor as discussions were held over a suitable burial spot within the compound. Press crew were not allowed into his house, but family sources say all is being prepared for the burial.
Late President is Illu, Sarkim Fulani Daura is brother, senior for that matter, for my wife, and we are shocked. We are shocked, but everybody is waiting for his time.
During his time as president, Daura benefited from several federal projects, a reflection of President Buhari's connection with his hometown.
Notable among them are the Buhari University of Transportation, the Federal Polytechnic Daura, the Air Force Reference Hospital, a 50-bed maternity center at the General Hospital, and the Kano Maradi rail line.
You can't describe this man. You can't. You can't. Ask anybody. Once this man has stayed in one place, give him some minutes, you'll see 10 or more people surrounding him. That is a gift from God. That's a gift from God. If you look at it, during all these elections or whatever, I'm not a politician, so I don't want to comment. But I've never seen a human being where people will blindly go and follow him.
Security outside his house remains watertight, with more deployments expected.
A large crowd of mourners gathered to bid the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, farewell in his Daura residence in Katsina State. Remains of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, was wrapped in Nigerian flag, while final prayers were offered by the graveside. Gunshots were fired as a mark of honor for the former president and commander-in-chief. Chief of Defense Staff read the citation of the former president. The national flag was handed over to a family member. The body of the former president was lowered into the graveside at 5:50 p.m. Earlier, aides to the former president, including some of his ministers, traditional rulers, and former service chiefs, extol some of his virtues and legacies.
At the time we came, it was extremely difficult, but to the glory of God and to the leadership he provided, we were able to contain these explosions, and we were able to push the Boko Haram to the islands, the Lake Chad Islands, the so-called Tumbus, and that was where it was, when we left.
When it came to the issue of security, it does not allow us sleep. He always get information ahead of us, and he will call and say, so thing is happening at so place. What is the situation?
Muhammadu Buhari, his name is synonymous to integrity. One may argue if he doesn't know him, but for those of us who interacted with him physically and for several years, there is no doubt that his name is synonymous to integrity.
The nation cannot write its history without him. Based with looking at the military era and the civilian era, and the monumental inroads he made from multi-party political developments in the country.
It's a big loss, taking into consideration what he has contributed to the development of this nation, right from his early days to the days when he was elected as the president.
This is the end of an era for a respected leader, statesman, and patriot.
A flashback to Wednesday when former Vice President Atiku Abubaka officially resigned from the People's Democratic Party. His resignation was communicated in a letter dated 14th of July and addressed to the party chairman of his ward in Jada local government of Adamawa State. The presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2023 general election tendered his resignation in the build-up to the 2027 general election after admitting to the formation of the coalition party, the African Democratic Congress. Mr. Abubaka insisted the party has strayed from the ideals on which it was founded. He attributed his resignation to the irreconcilable differences that have emerged and the current trajectory of the party. Now, reacting to the move by the former Vice President, Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, insists it was a personal decision and the Action Democratic Congress poses no threat to the People's Democratic Party.
I don't think that will make any dent on PDP as a party. PDP is an institution, right? You have freedom of entrance and exit. But I think anyone that will hold PDP down is better for such individuals too. But one thing we must all realize is that players will come and go, governors will come and go, president will come and go, but our country will remain and our state will remain.
Now moving on to Thursday, when President Bola Tinubu renamed the University of Maiduguri as Muhammadu Buhari University. This was disclosed at an expanded Federal Executive Council meeting held in honor of the former president.
An unusual Federal Executive Council meeting held in the presidential villa. This one was solemn, with an outpouring of tributes for a man who once sat in council as President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu used the paraphernalia of state to give his predecessor, friend and compatriot a national burial. Here in the council chamber, representatives from the family of former President Muhammadu Buhari listened to the odes and eulogies used to describe a man that dedicated more than half of his entire life to the service of the country.
The purity of his private character gave radiance to the discipline and integrity of his public service.
Everyone agrees with President Bola Tinubu when he said the former president was not perfect, but honorable. President Buhari was described as a principled man whose loyalty to the country is not in doubt.
He was not flamboyant, far from it. His voice was measured, his steps deliberate.
His humor and humility softened his disciplined exterior. Buhari's belief in the brevity of life and the certainty of judgment.
President Muhammadu Buhari was a towering figure in Nigeria's national life.
May God grant his family the strength and comfort, and may the Almighty continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
There were a few goodwill messages from some ministers, particularly those that served in former President Buhari's cabinet or worked closely with him.
This is a time for reflection and for reigniting our hope for a greater tomorrow.
Whether you choose to judge him harshly or kindly, the general consensus is that he embodied honesty and integrity in public office. His Excellency President Buhari understood a fundamental concept that leadership is also stewardship.
Live a life that resonates humility, sincerity, and clarity of purpose.
President Buhari's son Yusuf battled to hold back tears as he expressed gratitude to the president and the nation.
Extend our deepest gratitude to Mr. President, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu.
The renaming of University of Maiduguri as Muhammadu Buhari University is just one out of many ways President Bola Tinubu is immortalizing a man who ruled the country twice. The event marks part of the federal government's series of tributes to commemorate the life and legacy of the late Muhammadu Buhari.
That same Thursday, it was an emotional moment when the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, visited Jebu Bindi in the Riyom Council area. That's the scene of a brutal attack carried out by suspected militias. The attack, which occurred in the early hours of Tuesday, July the 15th, claimed 27 lives and left many with various degrees of injuries. Governor Mutfwang condemned the killings in strong terms and assured them he will ensure a comprehensive review of the state's security architecture to ensure those charged with the protection of lives and property discharge their responsibilities without compromise.
This is pure genocide, and I can assure you that we'll escalate this matter. The attacks that have happened, houses that have been burned, we will immediately go back and to the drawing board and see how we can assist those people who lost houses to be able to find their feet again.
One of the critical things that has made it easy for the insurgents and the Fulanis here is that we have no access routes. Even when the security may want to move, the roads are terrible. And before they can access where the issues are, they have no route.
Now, President Bola Tinubu was in Kano State on Friday to condole with the family, government, and people of the state over the death of a renowned business mogul, Aminu Dantata. Addressing the bereaved family, the president described the condolence visit as a personal commitment. President Tinubu also described the business icon as a man of immense personality, integrity, and philanthropy.
Here is a man of immense personality, honesty, integrity, and philanthropy, commitment to humanity in every aspect of the way. If they do friendship and they do contact over and beyond in the other world, Elijah Dantata will be in the marketplace distributing food to the hungry and giving the sick the happiness.
I want to extend our appreciation for today's visit. Today's visit is very historic, and we continue to remember it. We know how close Elijah Aminu Dantata was to you.
We regard you in very high esteem. We have seen your cordial relationship before you became president. We have seen how you interacted with him while he was alive, and we have now seen how you have reacted to his demise.
Now, finally, on flashback, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention on Friday issued a public health alert warning of rising cases of cholera, yellow fever, and dengue fever as a result of the ongoing flood season across parts of the country. In a statement signed by its Director General, Dr. Jide Idris, The alert followed recent forecasts by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, which identified Sokoto, Kaduna, Zamfara, Yobe, and several other states as being at heightened risk of flash floods this July. The agency raised concerns about yellow fever and dengue fever, both of which are spread by mosquitoes that thrive in stagnant water and left over from floods. According to the NCDC, between 23rd and 29th of June, suspected cholera cases have been reported in 34 states, with Zamfara State alone accounting for 32% of all suspected cases. And that's TVC News at 10. For more updates on the stories we're monitoring, you can visit our website, www.tvcnews.tv. You can also follow us on our social media handles. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and on X at TVC News NG, on YouTube or live at TVC News Nigeria. Thanks for watching. Coming up next is a repeat broadcast of Standpoint. Have a great night.